this number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, November 2nd, 2009.
What's up? Welcome one, welcome all to World of the Unexplained. I'm your host, Jay Scott.
I'm also your host, Trent Lackey.
And tonight, we have a show that's, I don't know, we wanted to have for quite some time. And we've just never really gotten around to doing it. But we're going to be talking about, wow, that was a fast fade there.
Yeah, that was a...
very abrupt.
It's like the applause suddenly dies when you...
when we enter the room.
The room and
it's just them.
Oh, it's just those guys.
Tonight we're going to talk about crop circles, and we have our guest Suzanne Taylor is going to be talking to us about that phenomenon. She has a new video out called "What on Earth," and we'll be talking about that DVD here coming up soon. But
it's pretty crazy because this has been one of those ideas that Scott and I have, Jay and I have. Thrown around for quite some time since really the beginning of the show. It was one of the top 5 or whatever. We needed to do something about crop circles.
No, yeah, and we've never, we invited a guy years ago on to talk about it, and I think that he couldn't make the show for one reason or something. I don't know, and we just never really revisited the topic, and it's a good time to revisit it.
Yep.
There's a lot of really cool geometric shapes. There's a lot of really interesting things going on with it.
It was really strange because I was reading my Nat Geo for either this month or last month, and it was really crazy because for the first time ever in that publication that I'm aware of, they had a crop circle in one of their pictures of the month. And I really thought that was very interesting, the rising popularity of crop circles. And let's see, that one was in Switzerland. even more strange, it was in Switzerland. I don't really associate crop circles with
they're from all around the world.
Yeah,
Russia,
that's true.
Russia, Czech Republic, Switzerland, Canada, U.S., England.
North America.
Yeah, all over the place, man.
I don't know in Asia, China, Japan.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't remember seeing anything from there, but I'm not sure that may be it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that could be a question we could ask. So Halloween come and gone, Scott.
Halloween was fun.
What'd you do?
Not much. Just hung out with friends and had a good time. I didn't really dress up this year. Didn't really do much. Just we watched Possess, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah, we had a Ghostbusters marathon actually at the end of the night. I was dressed up like a Serbian gangster, which is really just to say I was just wearing all black and had a shiny watch. But that's usually what I do when I don't have an outfit. I just cleverly create one for myself. I'm a German nihilist, and I'm just wearing like a Vladimir Lenin shirt and
look at me,
a corduroy jacket.
I'm a German nihilist. Look at me.
Look
at me. It was funny
just so on and so forth. That's what I wind up doing.
It was funny because we really wanted to do some different things with it and have a I don't know, just have like a big party like that, and well, it just didn't happen.
I know, on a Saturday of all things too. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the rains are sort of like damped everybody's opinions. Put out the jack-o'-lanterns in my front yard. I spent a pretty decent amount of time creating them. Or we had those. We finally got one of those kits to do it with, and you know what? They're really they take it to just a completely different level.
A kit to do what?
Carve jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh, yeah.
You get like a saw and a little wheel to cut out templates. But I didn't use the templates I had. I made up my own template and just used the idea of taping it to the pumpkin and cutting it out. And I came up with a pretty good one. maybe one of these days I'll get these photos up and post them. We are now on Facebook. We have a Facebook account.
Which I don't know how to do direct access to. I just linked it to Facebook.com. There has to be an ID or something. I couldn't figure it out, man. I'm slow. I tried. And I was
just
like,
use
man,
the email
forget
address, worldyunexplained@gmail.com.
Is that the way you find it?
That should be how you get there. It was really complicated. I'm no expert on how we get that stuff up, but if you use our email address, that's generally how you find the Facebook account.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And also, well, it's how you find any number of people who use their email address.
You get on MySpace though, when you type in MySpace.com/ World of the Unexplained, it takes you there. And I figured it was something like Facebook.com/
I don't know.
or
maybe it will.
I couldn't find it.
It's under my name apparently because
Yeah.
I couldn't just put it
know how
under
it is.
Wotu.
Here, let me try typing that and seeing what we get.
Yeah, and also we're on Twitter as well. So
Twitter.com/
Yeah.
Wotu Radio.
Yep.
So I'm going to try this Facebook idea.
So we're fiddling around with stuff here right now. That's basically the reason why the strange lull.
What are you
Excuse me.
talking about, man? I thought it was all going down good.
Oh, it is going on down good, but you know how these things work.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you put that in,
I did. Okay, I'm working on. No, it just ain't happening. Maybe it's under Trent C. Lackey.
yeah.
Let me try that.
The C stands for quality.
What?
Like CUALITY. That's a word joke. Not a very good one.
It's not under that either. I have no idea how you find stuff here.
We're working on it. You'll find us eventually if you look really hard.
Yeah,
and,
I looked really hard and I couldn't find it.
Use psychic. Well, that's the reason. You got to use unexplained powers to achieve our Facebook
World
site.
of the Unexplained on Facebook.
But it's not. It's under my name or I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Feel free to email us tonight, worldoftheunexplained@gmail.com, or feel free to call us later. We'll let you know when those lines are open, 877-722-7382 or 877-SCARE-U2. That's toll-free, U.S. and Canada.
Yep.
Is our guest with us? Awesome. Well, let's without further ado, then, let's bring on Miss Suzanne Taylor. Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Oh, I'm well, thank you. In beautiful, sunny Southern California, a beautiful day like why we never leave.
I understand. This is some video you've come out with. How long did it take you to put together?
Oh, a million years or so, give or take.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Amazing.
I actually started working on it specifically on this particular one in the summer of 2003, but I've been involved in this crop circle phenomenon since the late 80s and have also had some involvement with a previous film. But this one, the best film of all ever made about them, I started working on it in 2003, and it was finished this year.
Now, we looked when I first saw your product. I told Trent years ago we wanted somebody that talked about crop circles. We were looking for someone, and there was a guy in England. I can't remember his name. We'd invited him on the show. Something happened scheduling wise, and we just never revisited the topic since. And
Virgin audience here, eh?
Yeah. And we talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, and we
Never got around to crop circles.
A lot of UFO stuff, a lot of alien stuff.
I don't think we've done Bermuda
Yes, all
Triangle.
of our sister subjects, right?
Yeah, but nothing direct on point with these, and we've always found them fascinating. And there's a misconception. I think that I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. You'll find we do this a lot.
Yeah.
But there's a misconception. I want to clear this up right away, though, so the listeners will say that they're not making the same misconception a lot of Americans make. There's this misconception, though, when you talk about crop circles, that that's a hoax. These two guys, over at so and so, they used to do it with a piece of wood and a string. And
partially true.
Your film clears that up, though. I just want you to talk about that a little bit.
Well, do you know that there's a 10,000-pound reward for anybody caught making a crop circle? That's used to be $20,000, probably more like $18,000 or $17,000. And did I say dollars? I meant pounds. I should have said pounds.
Yeah.
But and nobody's ever been caught making one. Now I don't know. People like to get rewards. Now that actually is a little bit glib, since there is a hoaxing element to the situation. But if they were all hoaxed, there's 150 or so a year worldwide these days. Previous years, there have been as many as 300. So all all of those incidents all over the world on roads that are near, fields that are near well-traveled roads, fields that are on sort of hills where you can even see the result. Sure, they're all made by people, right?
Yeah. This is a kind of a follow-up question. I don't really know the answer to it. Do farmers get compensated if they have crop circles on their field for the lost wheat that they can't harvest? Or,
well, they don't get compensated by any official mechanism, and in fact, they've taken to putting up what they call honesty boxes, which unfortunately sometimes get stolen, human beings being what they are, but they, get better and better at cementing them to the ground, and people are very good about that. That's for the good ones. You wouldn't want to spend your money on, junky ones, but the good ones, people are very good about that. They will put their pound or 2 pounds in, and the farmer can actually make more money than he loses. But overall, since those are kind of the exceptions, the ones that are worth paying for, there's probably some kind of net loss to the farmers in all of this, and one wonders about that. It's actually one of the more troubling, little pricks there of everything is adding up, and then gosh, they're losing their crop. So
yeah,
I don't know what to say about that.
It's just something I've thought about for a long time since I've thought about the crop circles,
Maybe they'd have a 10,000-pound reward for catching an alien, too,
Maybe so. There's
maybe there'd be a special bonus for catching an alien.
Yeah, collective pot that they all chip into.
One of the great things about this video is not only the information you get, but also just the magnificent images that are captured from the film of you flying around or above some of these.
Yeah, aren't they beautiful, the photographs? I think that some of the prettiest crop circle photography I've ever seen is in my film. And you sort of acquire it everywhere. You don't do it all yourself. You just couldn't over all those years and all that time, and you don't hang out up in the air. But I know all the people there. I'm not a filmmaker who discovered a subject. I'm a subject that went looking to make film because I thought it was so important to get this, from my point of view, it was a real contribution that I could make to humanity, which I always care about. It's just the way I am. And, letting people know that this phenomenon was worth paying attention to, has been a real mission of mine, so to speak. So, where were we? Why did I start saying that?
I was just talking about the beauty of so many images and so many breathtaking scenes.
Oh yes, and that we didn't do all the photography, right? So and that I know the people. Oh, that's where we were. Yeah. I've been part of this group over there. We call ourselves Croppies, and and yes, we're very cute. And I've been part of that for a long time now, so I kind of, know all the activity there. Most of the films you'll see are from the outside looking in, people asking questions and observing and making conclusions. But my film is different in that I'm hanging out there with the people who know the most and who really are on the inside of it all. And I like smart people, so I'm attracted to the smartest people. And you're with them rather intimately at the same time as we've tried to make it into a good Hollywood film, with good production values and what have you. So I knew where to go to get good footage. And there are several different shooters represented in the film.
And it was put together very well, as a matter of fact. Going back historically, it does talk about this in your film as far as the history of crop circles, because a lot of people believe this is just something that just started not too long ago in the 70s or 80s. But there's actually proof of the existence of these things much further back in time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we love this woodcut from 1678. Anytime you're going to learn about crop circles, this woodcut will be front and center because it is so obviously what we would call a modern-day crop circle drawn, however they make woodcuts. What else could it be? It's got all these concentric rings, and the lines are going in different directions. And then there's some little story about what the illustration is, why the illustration, something about the farmer didn't want to pay to harvest and some such. And then in the morning he woke up and there was this flattened crop, and they're describing a crop circle. So 1678, and then about every 100 years, some kind of flurry, and whatever the publications of the day were, that was a pamphlet in 1678. So whatever the prevailing publications were, you would find a little kind of back and forth or a little period of time where things would appear that were asking questions or making observations or pointing you at something that was happening, and they were crop circles, not by that name, which was a modern-day name. And we actually tell one of those, we illustrate those, so we do a dramatic recreation of one of those stories from Nature magazine, 1880. Nature magazine is kind of like the New England Journal of Medicine in England. It's very prestigious, and there was a whole thing about a crop circle episode, but they all died out. They were, and then there were letters that came back to Nature magazine after that. A couple of issues were dealing with this, and then it went away. And it seems like the little kind of pocket of curiosity came up, and it just didn't catch. People weren't really paying attention. Now, how much of the phenomenon existed and people weren't reporting on it or caring about it. I mean, in our film, we have one person who talks about the fact that the older farmers talk about playing in these circles as children. And they were just part of the way it was, Now, they weren't as elaborate as they have been, in more recent years, so that they would startle people. But, a circle with a ring, a few circles together in some kind of pattern. And they used to play in them. I mean, they were ordinary, everyday givens. Nobody seemed to be curious about where they came from. And then when the curiosity arose in this 100-year cycle after the 1881, in the 1980s, actually, then it didn't go away. More people became interested. More investigation was being done. People, so the whole modern-day phenomenon burgeoned from that. And in some kinds of ways, the phenomenon itself does respond to interest. When more interest is expressed, the phenomenon delivers more. There's some kind of interaction between us and them or it or whatever it is that, it's not, there's not a wall between us. So now, of course, the interest is full-blown, and it doesn't go away at some level, although it's been very dissipated by this whole idea that they're all hoaxed. Unfortunately, it's been watered down so that people kind of treat it with the back of their hand, when in fact it's a fascinating phenomenon and it's a true mystery. We don't know where they come from, and if they do come from somewhere else, it would change the world, and the world needs changing. So I have a feeling I could sort of go on all night, but I think I've answered whatever question was on the floor.
Well, yeah, and I want to, obviously get into some of that, especially seeing as to how some of the, I see some people in your film going in there with energy meters and getting, different readings and, talking
gizmos.
about...
We call them gizmos.
Okay.
That's a scientific name, gizmos.
But I want to save all that until we come back from the break.
Okay.
But I definitely want to get into that. And I want to talk some more about the hoaxsters, too, and how a lot of people, they just get their information from the main media a lot of times. And,
the media's been horrible, just
terrible.
horrible on this phenomenon.
I mean, look at Obama, right? So, but
yeah,
as far as...
well, the media, has been trashy for a long time. We haven't had a real good media for quite a while.
I agree. But if you'll just hang with us.
Sorry, your media. Oh my dear. Sorry
well,
about that.
we're not. We're part of the weird media though. So
the
it's
weird
fine.
media.
No
We're
one
on the
takes,
fringe,
You're
so
the
we're
fringe media.
no one takes
we're-
us seriously.
We're
So,
cool and we're edgy and we got
Okay,
street
you
cred.
pass muster. It's okay.
so if you'll just hang tight with us for a little bit, guys, you're listening to World of the Unexplained tonight. Our guest is Suzanne Taylor, filmmaker, actress, and a bunch of other stuff that I'll get into later in the program tonight. Her new film is called "What on Earth," and we're gonna be talking
What on
more.
earth inside the crop circle? Oh my God, I'm forgetting the name of my website.
Inside the Crop Circle Mystery.
Oh my God.
And
No, it's whatonearththemovie.com. Oh God, I'm such a bad salesperson. That's the subtitle, Inside the Crop Circle Mystery. I knew I was off on the wrong tack. Okay, go take your break. Go.
all right, we'll be right back after this.
And tonight is World of the Unexplained. We have Suzanne Taylor. Give us a call, guys. Phone lines are open. 1-877-722-7382 or locally 336-996-1596. Also, don't forget, if you're shy, to email us at worldoftheunexplained@gmail.com.
And we're going to get a chat room back up again soon, one day this decade, probably.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, slow moving.
I came up with a couple of questions, really just spontaneously, as it were. I've never thought about it in this sense.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
This is good.
I hope
not, an old hack here.
Yeah, I hope it's a pretty good one. Do crop circles and
you might want to preface that first.
Okay, well,
the water and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. In the northern hemisphere, the water, if I remember correctly, as it goes down a drain, will turn clockwise, maybe, and in the southern hemisphere, it will turn counterclockwise,
or vice versa.
So they say. Are you going to ask me some science question? Uh-oh.
No.
No, it's not that complicated.
More observational, and I really don't have an answer for it. In your experience with, seeing different kinds of crop circles, are crop circles in the northern hemisphere, do they spiral a set particular way every time, as opposed to crop circles in the southern hemisphere, which would spiral the opposite way?
Well, first of all, crop circles don't spiral in one way or the other way exclusively anywhere.
Okay.
They spiral in different ways.
Okay.
And it seems to me I've heard some speculation about that. Let's see, if they spiral left, it means this. If they spiral right, to be honest with you, I don't know what that speculation is, and maybe there isn't even any. But in fact, I found it sort of interesting that they tried for a long time, early on, to explain the phenomenon as a function of weather, tornadoes, whirlwinds, who knows, whatever. Obviously, they weren't so geometrically complex as they are today. They were more circular, even though they weren't just simple circles. They were, when the phenomenon was named crop circles, by the way, the only shape that had appeared, and this was in 1990 when they created the Center for Crop Circle Studies, that's when they named it. The only shapes that had been employed were circular shapes. That didn't mean that, as I say, it was a simple circle. It could have been a circle with a ring, a circle with many rings, or just a succession of rings, more than one circle forming some kind of pattern. In fact, the biggest one ever was 409 circles. It was the size of 2 football fields, and it had 6 spiral arms on it, maybe 8. I think there were 6. And that was all made of separate circles. But so weather, as long as you were doing something circular, it kind of looked like it could be a tornado or a whirlwind or some such, until in 1989, something arrived, the likes of which had never arrived before, and it was a circle with a ring around it, actually. But the circle was divided into 4 quadrants. So they were pie-shaped. You had 4, a quarter of the pie for each piece. Mm-hmm. So each quarter was going a different direction. Yeah. So that ended the torqued speculation, which was at that point was very torqued to account for weather being the. But they had a very good. Kind of a famous and well-respected, what would it be, geologist? What would the science be? That was who are the weather people?
Meteorologists.
They had one of those. Uh-huh. His name was Terence Meaden, and he stretched this thing a long way into, it had to be weather, it had to be. And finally, when that formation arrived in 1990, forget it, weather was out the window. And then so were circles, actually. So here's the phenomenon. You didn't ask me this, but I'll tell you anyway. The crop circle phenomenon has a very winky aspect, kind of fun-loving, kind of like it wants to surprise you, whatever is delivering these. So no sooner had they named their grand institution, the Center for Crop Circle Studies, than the first formation arrived that featured a very large, predominant straight line. And off the straight line were other kinds of little funny shapes, claws and hammers and things that had nothing to do with circles. There were also a couple of circles on the line. In fact, my movie, the key art of my movie is that circle, the first one that came that defied the idea that they were all going to be comprised of circles, and it actually got worldwide attention. That was in 1990. And the crop circle phenomenon was very hot at that time. The world was fascinated, as you would expect. What is this strange thing going on? And it was making press all over the world when this particular one arrived, because it was so different. And the way news is made is that something's different, no matter that it's awesome and it goes on being awesome, but something different has to happen. That's news. Well, the straight line was news, and and from there on there was tremendous interest in what was going on with this phenomenon until the infamous 2 hoaxers came along and said they'd made them all, and we still to this day, 1991 that was. So the Center for Crop Circle Studies got a wink from the circle makers by giving us a straight line right after they got named, and then the whole thing got tortured by this terrible announcement that these 2 guys make. And the film goes in, as you know, to a lot of that story of what was going on with those 2 guys.
We've got that was Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley from Southampton.
Yeah, those were their names, indeed.
We just got an email from a listener here saying it's a hoax, and obviously he hasn't been listening to us. Well, hang on, what's that? Okay, yeah, don't believe.
Well, it's funny. You go into these chats or something gets posted on YouTube, and then people comment, and all these know-it-alls. Oh, it's all a hoax. I mean, excuse me.
Well, no, I will say that I've seen the crop circles that were man-made that they claim to have made, and then I've seen the other ones, and there's definitely just a different look to the way that they lay. I
was going to also say that there's a certain physical difference as well. The way that those guys said that they made them, they put a board and mashed down the wheat, and I don't know, them relatively, pretty much the same premise. But if I understand this correctly, in the ones that are definitely not hoaxed, there's something actually structurally different in the wheat, and the fact that it's not broken, and it just kind of looks like it's been laid down.
Well,
is that right?
There are many different ways to look at these things, and to look for proof, because we all want to be dealing with the real thing, and so there isn't, however, one real litmus test except taking the material into the science labs where they can examine the biological influences on the plants and the crystalline structure of the soil. And when they discover things that they can't account for in the laboratory, our God is science, and in this instance, that we can appreciate the fact that science can actually say to us, you know what, we can't do this. This doesn't happen here. That alone really should get the world wake up to the fact that there's something worth paying attention to here. But it's odd, isn't it, that this myopia does continue. But there are many other things. You're out there in those fields, and you're not in a science lab, and taking the material into the lab is very expensive, because when they do it with protocols, of scientific protocols, with what do they call that when you have something that isn't like a placebo, but
a control.
A control, right. They do a lot of things with control plants and control soil. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And it's very expensive to do those studies. Lawrence Rockefeller, for a while, was doing some funding, and some of the studies happened thanks to his nickel. But the community is not loaded with lots of affluence, so there's a limited amount of that they would do that way. But anytime you really wanted to ascertain what the real deal was, you take the material into a laboratory. Otherwise, everything else is a story. We could probably use the rest of the program talking about the way you look for the real signs, the fake signs, the whatever. But I will say one thing: the hoaxers have gotten a lot better. We don't want to lie about that. When the researchers don't get into a formation early on first, and the thing gets crunched up and messed up and whatever, and bearing in mind that the hoaxers have gotten really, really good, it isn't always, able to, you just don't always know. You used to know more readily because they didn't do good geometry. In fact, they didn't. When Jug and Dave were asked about geometry, they said, "What's that?" So one of the real hallmarks of the whole phenomenon is this astonishing geometry, which the public wouldn't hardly know either, except if it gets explained to you. We've discovered, we have learned geometric theorems from the crop circles. Literally, they're in our literature now that came from the crop circles. Very, very, very sophisticated geometry. So it used to be that the hoaxers didn't have any good geometers, so you'd always see this mess of geometry. Something might even look okay, and then you put your compass and straight edge on it, and you go, oh my, this is terrible. Then you knew, that was a hoax formation. But they seem to have acquired good geometers now, or a good geometer, and so the water is muddier, I must confess.
Yeah, and another thing I would say about the about the hoaxers, and maybe I don't really know where generally the crop circles take place overall, but you have to get in there. You have to get in there with equipment, probably. I mean, I imagine some kind of surveying equipment. You have to do it at night so people don't see you. It probably takes a long time. There's a lot of factors that go into that making one, even if you have geometers, as you say, or computer designing software.
Absolutely, you're right about that. It actually amazes me that they can turn out fairly good ones. We have to give them their due, because we do know that some of them, for instance, they'll be walking around the night before at a particular pub, where they sort of hang out, and other people go there too, and they'll be looking for people to recruit for the team, and so people will have seen the pattern the day before, so then it appears, and well, that one was hoaxed, and that's how we kind of know that they've gotten much better at it. But you're right about what you said as well, that this is a huge endeavor, and then you wonder, just, human nature is human nature. Why are they doing this?
Yeah.
What's in it for them? They have to remain anonymous, so nobody, they can't get public appreciation. Presumably they don't get paid, but then again, are they getting paid? Is something masterminding this?
Yeah, the defense
Ministry
project.
Of Defense.
Yeah, you get paying them to hoax it.
I mean, I don't know personally. Obviously, if you come out to my place and I'm the farmer, I'm going to sue you. I really am. I'm going to sue your butt if I find it's you that's mash my crop up.
Well, the farmers are angry. Let me tell you, because a lot of them are convinced that it is people, even though they don't catch them. And some of the farmers will take their combine or whatever cuts, and they'll just take it out. The day a crop circle arrives, they take it out. They cut it up.
How do you
Some of them are really, and they're really angry.
How do you get how do you talk to the farmer and say, look, if you're investigating it, can we please have a look at it, and sort of. Well,
you do, and sometimes they are. Sometimes they're lovely. I mean, sometimes they welcome them, just like us. Think that something wonderful is going on, and indeed there are farmers who feel that way as well. They run a wide gamut.
Yeah.
But some of them are just steely and angry, and there's no talking to them. But it's actually kind of a funny story. There was a very well-known, or a circle that got a lot of attention that came in 1996 right outside of Stonehenge. It was the first fractal. That was one thing about it. It was quite interesting, kind of like a tortoise, not a tortoise shell, but a nautilus shell, kind of a curled-up thing with little bubbles all over it. That were like the chambers of the nautilus shell, and it was right outside of Stonehenge. And then there was a lot of lore about that one. Different kinds of evidence seemed to point to the fact that it had come in a half-hour period during the day, and that's very unusual. Most of the crop circles come in at night, so whenever something unusual happens, it's like, ooh, how trippy, just because it's unusual. But anyway, and even harder, how are they making this in the daytime and nobody sees them, and it's right out. Well, it's not exactly right next to Stonehenge, but close enough. You can see Stonehenge from there. So the farmer, so the story goes, and actually there are friends of mine involved in all this. I know these are true stories. The farmer was angry, but he had no idea. He hadn't seen it. And when you were in this thing, you were lost. There were circles everywhere. It was just a maze. You were in a maze of circles inside it. So the farmer was determined he was going to cut it out, and somebody had flown over and taken a picture. And they showed the farmer the picture. And the farmer was so enamored of the picture that not only didn't he cut it out, he's the first one that put up an honesty box for people to pay. And the word is that he made a fortune on that. I think somebody said he made like $20,000, our equivalent of 20,000, or maybe it was 20,000 pounds. It was more like 40,000. No, it probably was more like $20,000. That thing was so popular with people. People were in it over and over again. It was quite, it was another leap forward for the design of the phenomenon, and it was very beautifully laid. It was just gorgeous. We have pictures of it in our film. You'll see. You go, ooh, that's so beautiful.
Now, what about some of these devices the gadgets, as you call them, these meters that you bring inside these circles and get different reactions from? You talk in the movie, some of the people talk about, I had my cell phone on and, I stepped inside the circle and it went out.
For sure.
And I step out, it's back,
Yeah, we tell stories like that in the movie. For sure. You get the weirdest things happen to your mechanical parts of your electronic parts of your camera, and your compasses, and your batteries will drain. Brand new batteries will drain. You can't take a picture. Wait a minute. These are brand new batteries. So we tell some stories even about a television crew that got nothing on their film. Never ever happened to them before. And that happens a lot in the circles. It doesn't happen all the time, but there's a lot of interference that's going on. There's something happening there, and that does not happen inside the hoax ones. If you get that kind of thing, you're in a genuine formation. But of course, that's what I said. You can't exactly, standardize these things. In one situation, it's one thing. In another situation, it's another thing.
It's very similar to sometimes some of the ghost investigations and things like this. Your investigators get there, their batteries are drained, it's a brand new battery. They, different things don't work.
Otherworldly is definitely going on, right?
The electromagnetic fields are going crazy. Go ahead, Trent.
Right.
How long does that effect last at a particular crop circle? I mean, how long does that weirdness go on?
I think they have to be fairly fresh for that. Once people start trampling them, you don't get much of that sort of thing. The dowsers, by the way, have a heyday in the circles. They love going into the circles. They can close their eyes, and in some ways they could create the formation for you. They can tell where lines cross, and they can sense the shape of it all. Particularly where they're dealing with the realness versus the no juice from the host formations.
Huh. Has anyone ever looked at one of these at night with some kind of infrared vision or anything?
Well, the funny thing is that they have watches all the time. England is not just flat. It's not mountainous, but it's not just flat either. There are hills and small mountainy kinds of things, gentle mountains you can climb to the top of. That roll through these farmlands, and people go up on the higher places and sleep there, and always trying to catch a circle being made, and they never do. It just never happens. They never catch people, and they wake up and light dawns, and there's a formation down there. Strange but true, and there's a lot of people doing that.
Well, we're when we come back, we're going to talk about what you think there may be a message in this, what that means to us, and all kinds of other great stuff.
Can we send them to my website before we leave?
Sure, yes. We'll do that. What is that?
Because if they're just dying to see this film, it's whatonearththemovie.com, and you can buy the DVD there.
Whatonearththemovie.com, and I'm going to mention, Trent, if you'll hand me that DVD, I can't read it from here, but it's the 2009 EBE UFO Congress winner of Best Feature Documentary.
That was a big deal. That's the first time we showed it. It was kind of a preview, and we won Best Feature Documentary of 2009. We like that.
And there's also a quote on here from astronaut Edgar Mitchell, sixth man to walk on the moon. Quote, "I know for sure we're not alone in the universe. I've been privileged to be in on the fact that we've been visited on this planet. It's been covered up by our governments for 60 years now." So definitely check that out. And you're listening to World of the Unexplained. Tonight our guest, Suzanne Taylor. What on Earth Inside the Crop Circle Mystery? We'll be back in just a moment after this. And we're back. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. Tonight our guest is Suzanne Taylor. And the DVD, What on Earth Inside the Crop Circle Mystery. Suzanne, it's been real fun so far. I wanted to talk about some of the other stuff in your video, as far as a lot of people think that maybe these are extraterrestrials that are making these things that are trying to communicate with us in some way. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. There are kind of fanciful ideas you might get, like it's an art school on another galaxy or something, and the advanced students get to work on England, and all the apprentices and what have you have to work on all the other countries, and it's a canvas, it's what they do. Who knows? I mean, could be, but it's not us making these things, and one would think, I mean, they're so loaded with information. There's some intelligence that's dreaming this up. They're not just casual. They're not squiggles. They're not, something has put a lot of mind into these designs. And putting mind into them, unless in some ways they are artists, which, I mean, really, I don't know. Maybe that's just as less far-fetched than whatever. But we are presuming that they're coming for a reason. And so then you have to speculate, what is that reason? It's certainly not being spelled out. But the reason I'm interested in them is because I think they do have a purpose, and the purpose is to wake us up to the fact that we're not the only intelligence in the universe. A lot of people look for kind of codes, or what's the language, and if you put them all together, what will the message be? I don't think so. Each of them individually, the more complex ones and the better ones, you might say, have a lot of information encoded in them of all sorts. You get people from different disciplines of sciences and what have you, and, from their discipline, astronomy, biology, mathematics, they'll interpret for you. They'll tell you what has been coded into these things. So, but then when you put them all together, it's just a hodgepodge, and I think it is. I mean, what a great tease that would be for waiting for, like a giant jigsaw puzzle that finally the last pieces will be delivered and humanity will get the message. I mean, that's kind of really silly. But I believe that they're really wanting us to understand, because they show us how intelligent the source is, that there is other intelligence. And, a lot of people say, oh, so what? So who cares what's making them? We're making them. We're not making them. Who cares? Who cares? What? If we're not making them, and we really know that, the world will change. We won't go back to bed and, business as usual. Oh, yeah, we got something visiting us, and it's making things in our planet, and, oh, yeah, it's casual and whatever. No. The whole planet's going to be up in curiosity and wonder and fear, maybe a little bit, since we're so conditioned to be attacked. But you quickly see that the crop circles are totally benign. There's just been never anything threatening about them at all. And then the puzzlement is going to be, what's going on? And we're all going to be in it together. The whole world, the civilized humanity, is all going to be in that inquiry about what in the world is going on. And wouldn't that be good for us, all to be in one kind of neutral inquiry that, isn't factional and doesn't have the possibility that we're going to end up going to war over it, but all of us wondering together what is outside ourselves. And then we're one humanity in relation to the other. And right now we have nothing to relate to. It's just us. So here we are killing each other, But once we get pulled out to being in relation to something other than us, that would be the healthiest, most really promising kind of development that ever could happen to us.
Now, how would we communicate back with them if that was the case?
Well, they do seem to have this capacity to read our minds, you might say. We haven't talked much about that, but it is quite odd how you think about a group of people will be driving by a field, and you'll be in that group, and somebody in the car will say, boy, that's a great field for a crop circle. We've never had one there. The next day there's a crop circle there. It's the weirdest thing. We tell several outlandish stories in the movie, and I would never tell them except they happen to my friends, and I trust my friends, But, there is something going on where they're actually engaging with us and knowing what we're thinking, you might say. So what do we have to do back? I don't think we have to do anything back other than be what we are, which is people who finally come to realizing, whoa, we have something real going on here. The whole world, just picture the whole world. Contact is in headlines all over the world. It's a headline in every country, every paper, contact. You don't think maybe the next move would be made by the circle makers? I mean, you think the only thing they can do is flatten wheat?
Yeah, that's true.
So I kind of like to see what would happen next, you know?
Sure, definitely. Now, we talk about these crop circles being in America. We talk about them being in Europe. We talk about them being in Switzerland. Your video goes all over the places. Canada.
40 countries, give or take, they've been in so far.
Now, where do they most occur at?
Well, England gets about half of them every year, and the rest of them are scattered out through the other countries. Germany and the Netherlands are the countries that get enough that you would think that there's a real significant phenomenon going on in both of those countries. And aside from that, just smatters, a few a year. The States, we've hardly had anything in the last couple of years, but before that we would get 8 or 10 or something like that. We actually have a fairly active little group of researchers here who really will put the material in the laboratories, and they're very passionate, even though the circles we get are, by and large, not up to the ones in England. Or we've had some really nice ones. I show 3 of them in the movie. We do a montage of international circles, and you'll see 3 really nice ones from the United States. And this ardent little group will get on planes. They'll go visit them. They tend to be in the northern hemisphere, near the Canadian border, for what I know not why. We don't get much in the south, but there have been one here, one there, and in other states as well.
There could be a certain amount of I was just thinking a certain amount of geography that may or may not play into that. For example, England, the UK is generally a fairly compact little country.
Absolutely.
And it gets a lot of air traffic.
People would see your artwork. You'd pick that nice little small area where private planes are flying over it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it gets a huge amount of air traffic. It's a Heathrow and all that stuff like that, and Europe in general, and maybe some other parts of the world, maybe further south. I mean, it's not that they don't happen, but maybe they don't get as much people to run across them. Which was sort of defeat the purpose.
We'd have to get into the minds of the circle makers really to, find out why they made that choice. But obviously that was their choice, and everything else is a bit secondary. And then there are speculations also about other reasons why that particular area makes sense. I think the most compelling one is that it's an ancient sacred landscape. You've got Stonehenge that everybody knows about. Most people know about Avebury, which is comparably magnificent in a whole different way as an ancient stone circle. There are hundreds of stone circles all over the British Isles, in fact. But in this little area, you just can't hardly turn around without falling over something ancient. And I would think, it would seem that the whole phenomenon, by landing near sacred sites, and by the way, that happens all over the world. For instance, in America, we frequently get them near Indian burial grounds, something that we would associate with something, I don't know if sacred's the right word, but ancient and holy, and, well, when we thought the whole world was sacred, actually, that's the way it used to be. Nature was sacred, people were sacred, animals were sacred, and I have some feeling that by these formations concentrating near ancient sacred sites, they're calling us back to understand our place as beings that are part of this beautiful sacred reality that we're in, as opposed to being part of the material, kind of consumer world, yes, that, but we've forgotten our roots, and we talk a lot about that in the film, actually, the separation between the material and the spiritual world, and perhaps the circles are calling us back for a reunification into a kind of wholeness that we don't experience anymore. And England would be the perfect place for that. Landing among all these wonderful ancient sacred sites would be the perfect way to symbolize that.
Yeah, that's very true. One of the things I really enjoyed in the film was the speculations of the geometers and especially when they're talking about Euclidean geometry and squaring the circle. And I know that's kind of high math, and I'm not an expert on it, but I mean that stuff sort of really fascinates me. And clearly the images that are on the wheat are, if anything, mathematical within varying degrees of complexity. And I really thought that was a very interesting part of the movie.
Well, again, sacred geometry is the way the universe is constructed. It all runs on sacred geometric proportions, and so the circles being so heavily, not all of them, but predominantly are constructed with that same kind of patterning, and that's definitely that's something, again, that you would really have to have some experts point out to you. You can see how pretty they are, but you have no idea how complicated the underlying geometry is. And we tried to touch on that enough so that people really got the idea of how sophisticated it was without going overboard, where people will lose, you lose people in things that are beyond their understanding. So we tried to strike a kind of a bit of a balance there. But that's such a really vital aspect of the phenomenon that you have to really touch on it some, and they have quite brilliant geometers over there. They have attracted some people who are really so turned on by the fact that that this phenomenon is constructed the way it is, and it really challenges very sophisticated mathematical minds to analyze where did this construction come from, how did they put this together, and they go back and they sort of back engineer them, and it's fascinating to see how these things actually got constructed. And in fact, if you ask these really outstanding geometers over there, well, could you design something comparable? Because they're so enamored of the design and the formations, could you design anything comparable? And what they'll invariably tell you is, well, we could design something that would pass muster along the lines of things that have already come in. Some variation on fractals, for instance. I told you that first fractal came in 2006, and 1996, excuse me. We've seen a lot of them since then, different variations. Yeah, we could design a variation on something they've introduced, but the originality of the way they've conceived it, and when you say fractal, well, there's certain rules to fractals, but then it gets translated into a wheat field, and the rules are kind of played with in an artistic way, but a way that has pattern to it and a way that has regularity to it. So they've made certain choices how to handle wheat in a fractal way, and those things are just so outrageous that. In fact, there's a geometry course online that I keep trying to get some school to be interested in, because these people are not very good at merchandising themselves. Not that I am, but I like to spread things around. Yeah. And it's very brilliant. If anybody wanted to learn geometry in a way that was so much more interesting than the way they teach it in schools, you just learn it from what's going on in the crop circles. So there's a course online that you can actually do that with, run up by a geometry teacher.
What's the course?
Yeah, we want to know.
What's the course, Susan?
Well, if you got on my website, which is whatonearththemovie.com, and go to the links, I link to his site. I'd have to look it up.
Oh, no,
it's
fine.
It is, yeah, but it says there, this is a geometry course that's online.
Okay, cool.
And it's right at the top of my links. You can't miss it.
So whatonearththemovie.com, you'll have a link to, on your links page, you'll have a link to...
On the links page, right at the top. His name is Nick Collerstrom. It happens to be his name. You don't even have to remember that, though. When you read the little blurb, you'll see which one is his. It's fascinating. It's just fascinating. As I say, these are things we wouldn't, as lay people, really understand, that there's so much going on there that has gone into the designs. And it's not hard to understand once you see somebody take it apart for you,
Right, and you did there was a pretty good job of when he did that and he spread it out and moved this here, and it's like, oh, okay, that starts to make sense.
Yeah, I mean, we barely touched it in the movie, but it's not beyond us mortals to understand this gorgeous underpinning of geometry in many of the formations.
And just before we move on from this topic, if I understand, the findings of the mathematics here in the and the circles, that's kind of translated into, the academic world of mathematics, right? I mean, there's been some kind of, they're using them as examples to prove
I'm telling you,
yeah,
all of this. I mean, that would make a fine course in school.
Mm-hmm.
And we have these geometric theorems. The guy's name was Gerald Hawkins, and he was the head of the astronomy department at Boston University.
Uh-huh.
And he got very interested in the circles, and he did a lot of work on them. He came up with some correlations between the musical scales and the geometry in the circles. That work is still extant today. You can tune into it. And he came up with 5 theorems that the circles presented that were not in Euclid, and they're now in our literature.
Pretty wild.
How much do we need to take an interest and get this out of the National Enquirer?
Oh, yeah. Actually, Gomez was mentioning to me earlier. He's one of our engineers here. He's mentioned to us earlier that his guitar teacher, Rusty Cooley, of the famed, what's the name of the band again? Outworld. Outworld, okay. Rusty Cooley, yeah. Actually, one of his guitar necks had a very, from what we were looking at, comparing it to some of the images in your movie, it looked like the artist that had actually drew the guitar neck on the fretboard actually had taken one of these crop circles and maybe manipulated it a little bit to get the design.
Maybe so. Well, they're gorgeous designs, and they're public domain. Nobody owns them.
That's true.
And so they're a good raw material for a designer to use. Really, they're very beautiful. We've thought actually about making fabric out of them, whatever, in my spare time, designing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're absolutely beautiful, waiting to be in Kmart or something.
Now, have you seen a steady increase in the crop circles in the past couple of years, or has it remained about the same?
Well, there have not been an increase in the number of them. In fact, there used to be more than there are now. The designs keep changing, and for some years, I guess you could have said they kept getting more and more complex, but not in a steady pattern. Sometimes there'd be one that would be just awesome, and then, then just less awesome ones, and then, kind of irregular kind of progression. But you could, point to a gradual increase in complexity, particularly the early years. Like, for instance, triangles came before squares, came before 5-sided figures, 6-sided figures. Every year you'd kind of wait for the next addition of another side to the ones that have sides. And when I say sides, inside a circle you can see, like I told you, the biggest one ever has either 6 or 8 arms. Well, that wasn't the progression of 8, because by that time they were in through 13, which was the highest number in the sidedness of them all. But through those early years, each year, you say, "Oh, I'm waiting for 7s this year. Oh, yeah, there's a 7." It's like in Las Vegas. But now there's just kind of different design groups, you might say. Like this year, they had a very unusual kind of turn into things that looked like insects and animals. There was an octopus, for instance, very clearly, no question about it, and a dragonfly. Well, the only problem, of course, is we don't know if they're hoaxed or not, because the hoaxers in the last 3 years have really been a plague, more so than they have been before. And, I didn't put all that many formations in from these 3 years. There's a smatter. But I was afraid to do it because I was afraid, the vote wasn't in yet. We really hadn't gotten to the bottom of which were hoaxed and which weren't. And I just hated the idea of ending up with a film where, people are going to turn around and say, nah, that's hoaxed,
Sure.
So I sort of stayed away from the more recent ones. But I'm sure I stayed away from very wonderful ones that were not hoaxed, because they really have been beautiful in the last 3 years. The last 3 years have been gorgeous. And you know where you can look them up? CropCircleConnector.com. Although on my website we have a lovely slideshow of them from over the years. It's going to be, if you get on in a couple of days, it'll be animated. Right now you have to click on each one.
Okay.
But it'll be a slideshow in a couple of days. But if you want to go to the recent ones without paying, you can see the 2009 ones on CropCircleConnector.com. Each one gets a page. And by the time the year turns, you're going to have to pay to get into the previous years. It's nominal. If you're into the circles, and as I am, I wouldn't think of not paying, because I'm always in the looking for things and whatever. But
Right.
you can see all the ones from this year and see how unusual they are. Go on cropcircleconnector.com, and I think it's recent circles or some such. You wouldn't have trouble finding it.
Excellent.
We're going to take our last break of the night. Go ahead.
Oh, what?
Oh, never mind. We're going to take our last break of the night. We're talking with Suzanne Taylor tonight, the filmmaker that brought us What on Earth, Inside the Crop Circle Mystery, and that's whatonearththemovie.com. Is that right, Suzanne?
Good going. You said it all.
Cool. whatonearththemovie.com. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. We'll be right back after this.
We're wrapping it up tonight with Suzanne Taylor and the new movie, What on Earth, Inside the Crop Circle Mystery. Give us a call if you want, 1-877-722-7382, or locally, 336-996-1596. Didn't really need to add.
They're just being shy tonight. I don't know.
Yeah,
It just depends. Some nights it happens. Some nights
Intimidated. They're afraid I'll bite them or
it
something.
don't. They may be. I don't know.
Zap them with alien whatever.
Oh.
But you do aliens. Different
yeah,
kinds
all
of
the time.
aliens.
Sure. I mean, so tell us what exactly is going on with this film.
Well, actually, something very exciting is going on with this film. I am working with the guru of Internet film marketing to make this film hugely successful with a official launch. Now we're sort of pre-official, but we're having an official launch coming up in 2 weeks on November 16th. And if all goes well, everything on the Internet will be buzzing with this movie. And it's a very brilliant strategy. It only works for things that are good, that you can't sell junk.
Right.
But there's just a lot of careful whatever going on, and hopefully everybody who's listening, is in this sort of world will, because it really works when you have a niche audience. And did you know that the UFO audience, quote unquote UFO, I think of that as us, is the second largest interest group on the net? Do you know that?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
We
That's
get,
really shocking.
we get about 1,000 downloads an episode per week, depending on which episode it is. Seems the UFO stuff's the more popular stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Well, this marketing plan is all aimed if you have a niche, and I've got this huge niche. And if anybody, really wants to play, email me, Suzanne at whatonearththemovie.com, Suzanne, or get on my website. You can just click through to the contact page. It'll get to me. And if anybody wants to know, observe or play a part or help, actually. If anybody out there really, is turned on by these crop circles and thinks that the world should know more, help me get this film out there. It is the best film that's ever been made about them, if I do say so myself. But that's what everybody says,
Sure, but no, it really is. We've seen a lot of films that are
sort of
mediocre,
questionable, and yours is actually really good.
Yeah, it's very well put
we
together.
wanted to make it a real movie. It's not a piece of junk. So, if you burn with this passion to wake the world up, email me. I'll put you in my army.
Okay,
that'll work.
The Crop Circle Army. Yes.
I guess my final question then is what's next for Suzanne Taylor?
Oh, honestly, to be honest with you, I can't even see beyond this. I have such a passion for the world becoming more conscious than it is, so that we stop hurting each other and we get the idea of a cooperative world being one where we'll all benefit from it. And I'm kind of on a soapbox, always advocating that people open their minds to the kinds of things that aren't with us now. And the way it's working now is not working very well. And we need to get outside the box of scientific materialism and addiction to economic success over people who don't have success. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It'll tear our world apart. Well, that's the world we've got. So how are we going to do anything different? Well, we're going to have to get some new input. And, it's so obvious to me that if we really understood that we were being visited, it would be the change that we could build a whole new world based on, that we would really be starting to think differently. It would affect us radically. But all the kinds of things that conceivably could change this narrow thinking, just be open. You don't have to believe anybody, but be curious. Be open to finding out what there is that really could make a difference. So, I'm sort of a pest on my little soapbox about that, but I feel really strongly about it.
That's fair enough, and they're very noble sentiments too. I mean, if certainly if there's anything that would unify the world, it would definitely be the
the fear of being subjected to alien legions that want to take. I'm kidding. Go
or
ahead.
just the fact that aliens are out there and they're looking at us and contact and
Obviously,
there
they're
may be
so
positive
exciting.
things.
Once we stop being scared, it would be so exciting, wouldn't it? Can you imagine that in your lifetime? Whoa!
it'd be something to tell the grandkids about.
Of course, they already know, but
Oh,
Well, no,
then
you
they'd
know.
be breeding with them,
Well, yeah, I mean, grandkids. When I say grandkids, I mean, like the whole, I remember when the first airplane was, you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, the interbreeding thing that gets into all kinds of.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
That's
Species.
crazy.
that movie Species.
Well, the world
That was-
just gets more homogenized all the time,
we're
we
just-
come out of duality and we come into oneness, so who knows?
I was just
Yeah.
thinking about the Nephilim and the what's
Oh my
that
gosh!
guy's
No,
name?
no.
Okay, I won't
I mean,
get
that's
into
fine, but we got
it.
just.
Can't think of the guy's name now. Oh man, what is
Don't
his
worry
name?
about it. It's not even the same
L.A.
argument.
Marzulli. That's it. Yeah, different marketing, but good guest either way. But
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Only if
Susan-
they're do you say that only if they're the green ladies from Star
Suzanne,
Trek?
I'll give you the final word if you hadn't already said it.
Well, the final word is go to my website. I really have a trippy website, by the way, and be sure when you're on it that you run your mouse over the circle that comes up, whatonearththemovie.com. You would not normally see this trippy thing that will happen when you run your mouse over the center of the big circle that comes up. Very cute. The whole website is actually full of charm.
It is a neat website. I've been there a couple
Thank you.
times, and there's a link on our guest page to your website as
Great. Very good. Very good. Everybody get on.
well. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate
Thank you. It's been lots of fun.
Oh,
was a
absolutely.
pleasure.
And hopefully we change the world. That's even better.
it. Hey, always
Maybe
up
so.
for that. Thank you so much, Suzanne. And that was Suzanne Taylor, the filmmaker. What on Earth? Inside the Crop Circle Mystery. A little crazy there at the end. Interbreeding.
Well, the interbreeding thing, always.
And then the whole
awkward.
then the whole thing about the rich getting rich and the poor getting poor.
Oh,
I can
well,
feel my
yeah,
I can feel the tingling going across my body
I
there.
feel the eye roll.
I'm just a capitalist
I
pig.
I feel the eye roll coming over.
Yeah, I know you do.
And
You can
that's
feel
like,
it burning, the
oh
roll
my
burning
gosh.
in your body.
Nephilim demons.
Yeah, that's right. I was getting there. I was going there. Demons. It's the
Oh.
demons.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can make the argument Lucifer was the artistic angel.
That's
and
right.
Using
He's the
this,
pretty one.
Yeah, the angel of music and art. But come on.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Do you think that they're all man-made? No, I don't. I think
No,
there's too
absolutely
many
not.
of them. I do. I just think there's not enough people that are that.
People usually respond to motivation. And
Yeah, but there's no
even if they don't
real-
have fame to motivate them. That's a lot
Yeah,
of work.
you
and
don't
effort.
have the fame, so you can't say, "Hey, I did this," because you'll get sued or worse. Some
Huge-
farmer might just come out and crank it out old style on you and just beat you down,
or
you
just
know? or mow you up, put you through the chipper shredder in the back. I don't know. I don't know how
Well,
these things work in England.
I don't think they. I don't think because I don't think they own firearms.
Well,
The
I mean,
average population, right?
Farmers do.
Farmers can own firearms. I thought maybe it'd be a long.
really,
bow.
yeah, I didn't.
You might
The
get pegged.
cops don't even carry guns over there, do they?
Oh yeah.
Oh, they do. I thought they didn't.
Semi-automatic.
Oh yeah,
Those
they're-
are like little bobbies, just
No,
walk around
no, no.
with
They
a
gotta,
stick.
They got to deal with tougher people. But anyway, I mean,
Man, they Jack the Rippers run around. They got little sticks and whistles. I mean, come on, I've seen
it's a
this.
homicidal maniac, and
Yes.
we're gonna beat him death with
With a stick.
Of course, then they had those police boxes.
That's true,
That
yeah.
they crammed them in. If they just
Yeah,
shove them.
get in there, you.
Yeah.
There you go, governor.
Right, give him a call and then
Clink.
get like about 10 dudes out there to round him up. I don't know where that has nothing to do with crop circles.
I know, but it was
seriously.
fun though.
I mean,
wasn't
the
it?
police box, yeah, Doctor Who, but I mean, still, that's got nothing to do with crop circles. But anyway, sorry.
No, it was nice to have a show like that.
Oh yeah, I love it. Would like to have another crop circle
Enthusiast. Yeah.
show in the future
The guys on who faked it all.
Did you know? Yeah, that would be cool to get the guys that fake it. That'd be cool.
for a little while. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be neat. That'd be a neat
And
little
then
angle.
there's
I like that.
there's a certain
I like
amount
it
of,
a lot.
it is true that they're getting better, and that's really a shame because it's sort of,
it kind of mixes in. You don't know what's real, what's
yeah,
not.
it's kind of. And most people are, a lot of people, I won't say most, there's a certain percentage of people who are already skeptical of them in the first place. Oh, well, they're man-made. They clearly don't realize how unbelievably complicated They
Yeah, I
are.
mean, you just need to take a look at some
You
of
know,
these things and see
Just
how crazy it is.
Take a look at this film and this
Because
and the stuff
we
that's
are
in there.
we're a stupid group of people in general. I mean, compared to what we were 20, 30, even 50 years ago.
And I
100
think
years ago.
that the whole notion of crop circles would really change the face of geometry, because I remember, it's sure. I mean, what do you want to do in 8th grade geometry? You want to sit there and learn how to solve a proof of why an angle is a triangle.
That's
what
why
do you want to
failed.
learn how to make a crop circle?
No, did I
how
fail,
to
or
design
did I
one
make a D?
mathematically?
I either made a D or an F in geometry. It was Coach what's his name that taught it.
Well, that's because it was a coach. What's his name?
Yeah, imagine
the
this
first
like
word
a football
coach.
field.
No,
I don't understand how the football field works, Coach.
Well, you should probably give her a coaches too.
And why are you a coach and you teach me geometry? How does this make any
Or
sense?
world history, and that's the problem. I'm gonna
We're typing.
typing. Yeah, that seems like something a coach could do. Really.
The coach that hunts and pecks and wants you to go to the home row.
Nah, I'm just
What's
kidding
that all about?
coaches are fine, but it is our experience with those guys were pretty lackluster, and I think they turned people away a lot from mathematics and world history and.
Wait, I'm getting ready to open you guys up into the only thing that I remember from geometry.
Okay.
The only thing. This is it.
Uh-huh.
10th grade. I took it in 10th grade. Some people were smarty pants like Mr. Trent took it probably in 8th or 9th. But
Yeah.
did you?
I don't know.
You probably
I just remember
you took calculus, didn't you? And all that
I
kind of
didn't take
crazy
calculus,
stuff.
but there were a
Pre-cal.
lot of very attractive girls in my class. I remember that.
So you took pre-cal then or something. You
I
took
don't
something
know.
crazy.
I
Anyway,
really wasn't paying attention.
point is, here's the only thing. Here's the secret to the world right now. I'm getting ready to tell them. The only thing that I learned from geometry in the 10th grade. Vertical angles are congruent. Still remember it to this day. And that's the only thing I put on the state EOG exam, whatever it's called back then. That's the only one I could find for the whole entire 3 hours we were in there.
Uh-huh.
I found that first. I found it quick.
Yeah.
And I put vertical angles are congruent. And that is all that I wrote down on that whole test.
And what is it? Supplementary angles equal 180
I
degrees.
don't know any of that. I just remember vertical angles.
Pythagorean
are congruent.
theorem: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. To find the hypotenuse.
No
that
idea.
long line there.
Yeah, no idea.
But anyway, that stuff's boring. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah, if you could
crop
have
circles
cool
are exciting
pictures like that,
and,
yeah,
and
let's
amazing.
look at this. How do we
And,
do this? How do we
yeah.
get to there?
And just we're going to find some proofs and try to logically determine that. It's just a failure, utter failure, and
There you go, man.
Getting people hooked on mathematics.
This could be your calling, man. You could be a math teacher.
Well,
and you could teach geometry, and you could teach them using this other thing this guy's developed.
yeah, but I mean, the problem is, we're dealing with a government program, NCLB, No Child Left Behind. I'm going to knock it a little bit, and just basically.
That's okay, man. Government health care is coming soon. It'll all be fine.
The thing about it is, it's got nothing to do with anything. But did people argue and complain as much about No Child Left Behind as they did about this healthcare thing? Because I don't remember. I mean,
we
was
don't care.
younger.
I mean, yeah,
No, but
we
it's
didn't.
government.
We don't care about the kids.
No.
It's the old people that are going, hey, I'm going to make sure I get
But I mean,
taken care of.
that's my point. Is that all of a sudden, this is a government takeover of schools, and it is, because the states were the ones that usually ran the school system up until this point. But now the government steps in and makes it a horrible mockery of learning.
And the government has no right and no constitutional authority to do it.
No, I mean, it's a 10th Amendment issue. Actually,
I
and
agree.
Where the states have traditionally.
We'll just call it Commerce Clause, and we'll check the box beside it. And everything will be okay.
It's just a overarching, sweeping thing that GW signed into law.
Yeah,
and nobody.
and now,
my point is,
and now BO is getting ready to
no.
sign.
I don't care about what BO
up.
does. My point is that nobody gave this NCLB the heat and the crap that the public option is getting now. Why?
Because people die when health care doesn't work.
Our society dies when our children are.
Our
educated
society's
properly.
already dead. Look at these idiots that they're turning out of public schools.
Right, that's my point. They're idiots because
Point is,
the
people die.
public's-
What is it? Let's hear from Gomez.
I don't want to hear Gomez. No. We could get sued.
Decrease
children of the crop circle interbreeders, will they be covered under public option?
Yeah, you probably. They're covering the other aliens. They might as well cover the outer space kind too.
But they might actually be smarter. They might get the math, Where
I don't know.
mean, so I say maybe we should interbreed with the aliens so our math scores will go up.
So our math scores will go up.
Interbreed with an alien, so
Decrease
we
the
can
surplus population. Bah!
Scott, you're a little early.
That's
for
what my
that.
tax money is going to. Bah! Humbug!
You're a little early to that.
Humbug!
But I'm sorry we went on that political diversion. I really don't do that much, but NCLB really ticks me off.
Oh yeah,
so-
no, I understand that,
and,
dude. I really do. You have a good gripe to make there. I think we should go to a voucher system. I think we should make schools compete against each other. I think that
Well, I
that
think
would be
that-
a way to fix that.
Well, I think the states should really have the option of running it how they saw fit. You
Yeah.
know, and
Well-
sometimes it fails, sometimes it doesn't. Crop circles are awesome.
All right, next week, Michael Horn. You remember him? Billy Meyer story.
Yeah.
We've
Another
got the
alien.
movie. You've got to watch this movie with me sometime this week.
Okay.
The Billy Meyer story. It's the DVD. They go over. They talk to Billy. Thankfully, they have a translator because Billy doesn't speak English,
Right.
which is good. We have a translator. It's a good film,
Uh-huh.
and what I've seen of it, the brief clips I've looked at.
Uh-huh.
But we'll watch that together. It's a good little film. We'll have Michael Horn on, his American speaker, I guess, interpreter, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following week, I don't remember who we have on. I have to look. I think it's something about 2012, though.
Oh yeah, very appropriate for that movie.
And I'm thinking, I was
Movie's coming
kicking
out.
this over with you about the whole having a Jack the Ripper kind of ripperologist kind of guest on.
Why haven't we?
I don't know. It's something we.
Why haven't we got a good one about the Bermuda Triangle or the Dragon?
I tried
Triangle?
that one time on the Bermuda.
Okay, well we need to get into that. Okay, we're really.
Well, we got
rambling.
tons of ideas though, but we were talking at like 19th century month or something. We could do the.
Oh,
Jack
that's
the
that's
Ripper.
pretty cool.
kind
If
of
you
a-
got ideas out there, give us a
Yeah,
email
shoot 'em
at
to us.
worldtheunexplained@gmail.com, and let's hear from what you guys would like us to go
Talk
through.
about sure.
Yeah.
Check out our Facebook page.
Check out our Facebook page. Check out our Twitter. They're pretty bare bones, but I don't know what I'm doing with Facebook yet.
Obviously,
So,
I don't either.
you know,
I can't even log
You
into
can't
the
even
daggone
find-
thing.
You
I
can't
can't
even
find
find
it.
us.
So
Check out our MySpace page.
Oh yeah, MySpace has been around for a while.
// I was getting ready to say Black Book Romance.
yeah.
/ World the Unexplained. Twitter.com / Wotu Radio.
Yeah, that's it.
Facebook.com. Your guess is as good as mine.
Use psychic powers. I set it up just like that.
This is Jay Scott, and you're only JD DJ in this room right now, anyway. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Your turn.
Yeah, this is Trent Lackey, a.k.a. T-Dog. No, I didn't say
Tito.
I did not just say
Tito.
that. I didn't say that. We're coming to you from Kernersville, North Carolina, a small town where we talk about big things. And
Gomez. Say something crazy like Chuck used to, like "We out" or later on.
you might have to work on it.
Yeah, you'll have to come up with that one. Say
Ghost show.
Republican Ghost Show. There we go.
The votes are always absent.
Where the votes are always counted. Exactly. All right. Till next week, guys. Have a good one.